Good evening, everybody. Well, tonight we are going to talk about the three archetypes. Can you hear me okay? Yes? Okay, good. I think the microphone was here, right? We're going to talk about the three archetypes. It's a pleasure having all of you here, you know, all the spirituality and all of us that made it here. That's wonderful. Well, first, let me talk a little bit about archetypes. Anybody knows what archetypes are? You know, Luigi? Really? Don't you know everything? Explain it to us, please. Please, Luigi, come on. Come on. We're supposed to participate.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
Who wants to participate? Archetypes. Anybody knows what archetypes are? Those are the three archetypes that we're going to work on today. You know why? Because, you know, people often ask me, a lot of the times, you know, I do a lot of energy work, right? And at my job. So people often ask me, how do you manipulate energy? Like, how is energy manipulated? And then people think the answer is so simple. Oh, you make a right, a left, and then you go straight. You know, I think when people ask me that, they're like wondering and maybe hoping that they get an answer that is so simple. And it's not, their answers, you know, and when I remember when I used to go to school, I wanted my professors, my teachers to say, no, 2 + 2 is 4. You know, that's so logic, right? Give me a straight answer. Come on, I just want the answer. But sometimes, you know, the answers are not as simple and straight as we would love them to be, because wouldn't that be so much easier, right? But no, answers sometimes are complicated, you know, and energy work, how we manipulate energy in order for us to really, really, really understand on how to manipulate energy, we need to understand protection, healing, and integration. And those three, you're gonna see with, you know, the slides playing. I usually don't use slides, but with this, I kind of had to, because even myself, you know, it's so important, like the details and the information. I think there's a lot missing that I would love for it to be there, but it's so big. It's like a huge, I started researching and it just became like so big. And this is so interesting. So let's start with the triads. So the three priestess as a sacred system. So the priestess, the Egyptian priestess, right? There were the archetypes for protection. One was the archetype of protection, the other one of healing, and the other one of integration. We're gonna, don't worry, we're gonna go over it. You're gonna see. So these were not meant to exist separately. They are a triad, current, that worked within the human energy body the way that the Nile worked the Nefertari. Nefertari is the first one, an Egyptian goddess, an Egyptian queen. So before we move forward, I just want to explain something. Just like the stories from the Bible, because the Bible is something that all of us know, right? Just like the stories from the Bible were parables. You know what parables are? Right? What are they? Stories that it's proving a point to explain. What is it, Adriana? Parables. Stories? Very good. Because I was talking to her on the way here in the car. I'm like, I want to know if she was paying attention. To teach a lesson, right? The stories, parables are stories that we tell people so people can learn a lesson. Isn't that cool? So the Bible is full of the whole Bible all of the Bible, right? Because especially the parts that saying, Jesus was teaching. So a lot of the times what we do, we get attached to the story itself. A lot of the times we get attached to the personalities, am I saying it right? In the stories, to the characters in the stories, right? And we have that tendency, and that's how religion and how, people follow religion instead of learning the lesson. You are focusing on the characters, you're focusing on the story, but then we forget about the lesson. And the whole point of that whole story and the whole point of pointing out characters was so our memory, because the only way that we learn is when people are telling us a story so we can imagine. That's the only way we can absorb information. We use our imagination. So these people were using imagination, symbols, personas, right? Goddess, all these people from the Bible, maybe half of them, even more, didn't even exist. You agree, Luigi? Correct me if I'm wrong. So going back here, they are a triad current that worked within the human energy body, the way the Nile worked at Nefertari, the solar plexus root chakra, who is the intelligence of the protector, the land, containment. That's what Nefertari means. Who unlocks spiritual shields representing nourishment. And then we have Amara, Amara is connected to the heart and sacral chakra, the healer, grace, representing immortal essence. The Seraphil, it's the third, connected to the third eye and crown chakra. The insight without force, the silence representing the observer. So now the spiritual need, human consciousness, is open and permeable by design. Without balance, openness leads to fragmentation rather than growth. So what happens is, you're going to understand. So this is Nefertari. They call her Isis as well in Egypt. Okay, she was the queen. She was the goddess. She was one of the priestess of Egypt. So Nefertari was the most beautiful, the goddess of protection. That was Nefertari, right? And this goddess, Nefertari, is actually, I'm going to tell you right now, so we don't focus so much on the goddess. She was beautiful, but the whole point of this whole thing is so we understand that Nefertari simply represented the solar plexus and the root chakra. That is the energy centers in our body. They wanted to tell people a story so they could understand the meaning of the story, but everybody just got attached to her image, to her power, right? And how outside she could protect us, just like God, right? We think that there is a God that can protect us. And the God that can protect us is ourselves. We are the gods that protect us. You guys understand what I'm saying or no? Do you have any question? Okay. So Nefertari connected to the solar plexus. Where is the solar plexus? Stomach, right? The energy center, our stomach, is called solar plexus, and the root chakra. The root is at the bottom of our spine, right there, the root chakra. So understanding this is very important. You're going to see why. Okay, protection defines who we are, where the self ends and others begin. So she talks about protection. Protection defines who we are. So if you want to find who you are, you need to access. How, Roberta? Meditation is the best way, I think. We need to find who we are. We need to define ourselves. But how do we do that? Meditation through where? Your solar plexus and your root chakra. How? We breathe. We focus on our breath. In my meditations, I often say, imagine there is a healing light So you use your imagination. You imagine this healing light on your root chakra. And as you're breathing, you bring the healing light to your solar plexus, right? Who are you awakening? If I'm sleeping and somebody goes there and shakes and says, and just doesn't, the person doesn't even need to call me, right? But she is shaking me, she's gonna wake Roberta up. So that's how you're gonna awaken the root and the solar plexus. You're gonna breathe. If you try this at home, when you go home, you can focus on a beautiful light, perhaps red root chakra, perhaps orange solar plexus, yellow solar plexus chakra, right? Turning from red to yellow, up and down from your root to your solar plexus. You can do this for 30 minutes, an hour, and you focus on your breath, and I guarantee you that you will experience access. You will experience the energy of protection. You will find yourself there. You will find your Nefertari. Do you see what I'm saying? The energy center in your body. So spiritually, boundaries are not walls, but sacred clarity. So what's saying here is Nefertari knows how to set boundaries. If you're having issues in your life with setting boundaries, you know what you need to do now, right? What do you need to do? Meditate. You're going to focus on your breath. A beautiful red light on the bottom of your spine, on your root chakra, and you're going to bring that breathing, and you're going to bring that light between your root chakra and your solar plexus. And I promise you, it will work. We need to meditate more often, all of us. So, and you will find the protection, and you will understand the boundary, and you find the strength to set boundaries. Because when we think about boundaries, we think about walls. Boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are not walls, but sacred clarity, right? The answer will come. The how will come. The why will come. In meditation, you will access everything that you need in your Nefertari energy. You got it? Yeah? So Nefertari is the keeper of the shield. Nefertari's role is spiritual guardian, boundary architect. She is the boundary architect. She knows how to set boundaries, right? Domain, aura, soul membrane, psychic sovereignty. The element is indigo blue, gold, deep night sky. Nefertari's work was not emotional. It was structural. This is very important. Between your solar plexus and your root chakra, right? A lot of the times when we are meditating, I don't know, does everybody meditate here? Anybody? A lot of times when we're meditating, what happens is the reason why we are not able to access what we need to access is only because you are trying to access from your emotional brain. Do you see? In meditation, perhaps, we don't use, some people use, but there's no right or wrong in meditating. I don't want to say that. But I think when we refrain from using our emotional, especially, but there's got to be structure, right? In order for us to reach something, we have to have structure. And in order for us to set structure, we need to think, and using the rational brain, the logical brain, right? We are able to not access, but at least set the structure to how to access. Do you guys understand what I'm saying or not? All right. So by using your rational mind, before you meditate, you're going to set a structure. What am I going to do? If you don't have a guide helping you to meditate, you need to set a structure. And Nefertari is, her work was not emotional, it was structural. That's why it was logical. That's why she was able to access. That's how we are able to access. Sometimes because we think our emotional brain is what is going to get us to access, the more you access your emotional brain, the more you try to work with your emotional brain, the less you're going to have access to anything. You agree, Luigi? All right. Okay, because Luigi's my mentor. So if I'm saying something wrong, I look at him, and if he's not going like this, if he's going like this, I go, oh my God, what did I say wrong? Okay. So she understood something most modern systems forget. The human spirit has a protective architecture, but trauma, fear, and untrained empathy collapses it. Do you guys understand? Isn't that deep? I thought that was deep. That's why I wanted to put it there. So, Nefertari, the guardian, the daily integration is notice what is yours and what is not. So, when you do this type of meditation from root to solar plexus, I'm serious. You will notice what is yours and what is not. And when you notice that, when you observe that, with no judgment, you are able to change and manipulate. And this is the secret, the beginning of understanding on how to manipulate energy. Do you see? Because if you notice what is yours and what is not, that's the beginning of accessing. Pause before observing others' emotions, including your own. I should have wrote. Okay, living Nefertari. Ask yourself, what am I responsible for? What can I release? Because a lot of the times we hold responsibilities that are not ours. And that gets in the way. You know, when we say, I've heard people here saying, Luigi saying that we think that our chakras are aligned, but our chakras are not aligned. That's what he's talking about. Because when you don't know how to notice, because in order for us to notice something, we need to be able to sit still. And if you cannot meditate, because you cannot sit still, then you're not able to observe yourself and notice. You agree with me or not? So we need to work on all these things, and then you'll be able to manage your energy, and therefore then manage somebody else's energy and help people. Do you see? Pause before absorbing others' emotion. So a lot of people, a lot of the times come to me in therapy and they say, Roberta, I don't know what to do. You know, sometimes I get so anxious when I get to work, you know, I feel everybody's emotions, and, you know, yeah, we all feel everybody's emotions, right? But imagine if myself as a therapy, if I was absorbing everybody's emotions that came in there, right? I wouldn't even be able to walk after I left work, right? So we need to learn on how to manipulate. So what am I responsible for? I'm responsible for helping her as my patient. As long as she's here with me, I'm responsible. I'm connected. I'm focused. I'm listening. I'm trying to help her. But the minute she leaves my office, I'm no longer responsible. And that's how people hold energy that don't belong to them, is because they feel responsible. Do you see? You understand? So what am I responsible for? We need to define. We need to be able to identify, right, these things in our lives, in so many different areas of our lives. Do you see what I mean? Like our kids, for an example. How many times, right now, for an example, I'm talking and my phone was buzzing. My son is calling me. So I need to be able to separate, right? I'm speaking here. Am I responsible for his, I don't know what's happening? No, I'm not. He's an adult, you know, he can, I'm not, because then if I walk around with feeling responsible for all my patients' problems, for my kids' problems, for my, you know, for everybody in my life's problems, and if I walk around holding those energies and absorbing them, I am not going to be able to manipulate nobody's energy, my own energy. I'm going to be a mess. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Okay, so integration, healthy boundaries allow compassion without depletion. So if I set healthy boundaries with my patients and I say, I'm going to help you here while you're here, you know, but please don't call my phone every day during the day. Don't be texting me, because I can't. Because after I help you, I'm going to be helping 8 people today, and I cannot be answering. So if you like to see me again, make an appointment, and I'll see you again. That's not a problem. Do you see what I mean? Healthy boundaries. I'm just giving you an example of what I do in my life, but everybody has different, right? In your job, how much your boss is, you know, exhausting you. You can set healthy boundaries, and it's healthy to set healthy boundaries. So the reflection that we learned here about Nefertari, the solar plexus and root chakra energy, you could journal or discuss, like we are discussing here. Where do I need clearer boundaries? So you got to ask yourself, where do I need in my life to set clearer boundaries? So I'm going to give you 1 second to think. You don't have to share if you don't want to, but if you want to share, raise your hand. Where do you find in this reflection that you need to set healthier boundaries? I mean, clearer boundaries. Clearer. You're not being clear with people that are trespassing your boundaries, and you need to set clearer boundaries. Where? Where do you think? Huh?
Work.
Work? Anybody? Huh?
Friends.
Oh, you're next to your friend. No. Okay. How about you?
Me?
Yeah. Where in your life you need to set clear?
Certain friends.
Certain friends too?
Family.
Family? Okay. You're funny. Where? Anybody else want to share? Well, just think of, I'm asking so you're able to think, wait a minute, I need to set clearer boundaries with, you know, in this area of my life or the area of my life. So what am I carrying that is not mine? These are questions that are very, very important that we ask ourselves in order to help these energy centers, the solar plexus and the root chakra, to work, to align, to work better. You guys get it? Yeah? Okay, Amara. Amara is another goddess. So Amara is responsible for the heart and sacral chakra. The heart chakra is green, right here. And sacral chakra is your belly button, right? And it's orange. So if you want to work the Amara in your life, that energy center, you imagine an orange light, a beautiful healing light, spinning between your sacral and your heart. And you can do that. You can do that kind of meditation. Breathing. Always focus on your breathing. And then you will access healing, grace, and your own spirit. You have access to that, right? Healing allows the soul to soften and release. Have you ever met somebody that is very rigid and judgmental? Have you met? Right? Healing allows the soul to soften and release. So when we work with our heart and sacral chakras, we are helping ourselves to soften, to be more soft, to change. Maybe you're carrying a lot of masculine energy, right? Maybe you are, you know, you feel like the world is on your shoulder and you have to be ready for anything in any moment, and you need to release that. So Working with meditation with that is very important. True healing only occurs when safety is present. This is very important. So if you are in Nefertari, you want protection, right? You want protection. You want to set boundaries. But if you don't learn on how to soften, on how to manipulate, one energy here depends on the other. That's why they are a triad. It's not, right? Do you understand? They work in three. Right? I'm giving you like, oh, you could do this, you could, but then after we are done here, this, right, you can go home and meditate, and you can focus on, actually, we're going to go over, but for now, your root, your sacral, your solar plexus chakra, and you can imagine this light, this healing light, moving up and down, or you can do also in parts, whatever feels best and more comfortable for you. So healing without protection overwhelms the nervous system. Have you ever met somebody with their nervous system overwhelmed? What does that mean? Do anybody knows? When your nervous system is overwhelmed, what happens to your body physically and to your emotions? Many emotional, different anxiety, panic attacks. How about physically? Shaking, sweating, what did you say? Huh? Pain? You feel tired? And then it creates different diseases in our bodies, right? So healing without protection overwhelms the nervous system. So if we need to reach healing, we need to reach Nefertari first, protection. Do you understand? You want healing. There's not going to happen. Healing is not going to happen if you don't protect your body. You need to protect yourself first. I'm saying your body, but it's really spiritual. It has nothing to do with the physical, right? You guys understand? A lot of people say, Roberta, I've been coming to the spiritual center for so long. I've been praying, I've been meditating, and nothing happened. I've been looking for this healing. I need healing here, I need healing there. But you don't feel protected. You don't work on your self-protection. You don't work on your boundaries. Do you see? You need to work on that. You don't feel safe. You need to feel safe. Then, after you feel safe within yourself, you know what we do? We usually come to the spiritual center and we sit and we wait for somebody else to heal us. Because we were taught that way. We were taught that somebody else can heal you except yourself. God can heal you, an angel can heal you, spiritual guide can heal, Luigi can heal. Everybody can heal, but you have no power to heal. And that's why we fail. We need to start believing what the Bible even says, that we are gods. We are capable of healing ourselves. And if we fall into that religious trap that we are nothing, the poor little me, I can't do this, I'm incapable of doing that, I'm a nobody, God is the powerful one, He is the one that can do for me, you know where you're gonna get? Nowhere. Do you guys agree? You disagree? If you disagree, please tell me. I'm not here knowing more than anybody. I'm just learning, you know. If you have a different opinion, I would be very happy to hear. Huh?
I agree.
Oh. Well, I almost said, oh my God, it just sounded like the wedding. You know, if anybody here is, I'm going to like, oops. Okay. All right. So the role of Amada the healer, right? The role is healing and restoration. She represents compassion, emotional flow, and repair. So look, if you need emotional flow and repair, you need to work with your heart chakra and your sacral chakra. Do you see? If you need healing, restoration, if you need to work on your compassion, on your emotional flow, if you're too rigid, you can open up emotionally. It's hard for you to feel, or you're feeling too much. You know what I mean? Because some people have hard time feeling, but some people have a hard time with feeling too much. And it's because your heart and sacral chakras are not aligning. They are not balanced, and you need to work on that. Okay? Did I practice self-compassion? Heal without forcing change. This is very important. Because sometimes we want to force change. We want the change so much that we want to force, right? It's only because we are feeling guilty, ashamed, and low self-esteem, and ashamed because, we see people around us all the time living their change. We see people around us enjoying the change that they are able to make. And we've been there stuck for so long that we're like, what's happening? What's happening is you need to connect with yourself. And you need to work on these through meditations. We talk about meditation all the time here. We're so tired of talking about meditation. I am, honestly. But I don't know, it came again. But meditation is very important. If you don't come here on Tuesdays, I don't know. You don't have to come here to do meditations. But if you're not used to meditating, and if you don't even know how to start, this is where you should start. This is where you should come, because you're going to learn. I'm not here every Tuesday, I promise. You don't have to deal with me. But then there are other people. And every person that is guiding meditations here on Tuesdays, we work differently. And I don't know, maybe you will enjoy, you got to try. If you don't try, and if you're afraid of meditating because you can't sit still and you can't observe yourself, you got to ask yourself, why am I so scared to observe myself? What is scaring me so much that I run from meditating? You should ask yourself that, because think about it. Living Amara, ask yourself, what needs softness right now? What is it? Where in my life, which area of my life that needs softness? Where can I allow ease? Those people that are always preoccupied, they're always, nothing is easy for them. Everything is so hard, everything is so complicated. Where? Ask yourself, where in my life? Where can I allow ease? Integration. Healing happens when we feel safe enough to soften. See, safety again. So safety is very important. And trauma, life trauma, brings us to the fight or flight. You are in a constant, right? I'm not talking about the trauma that something horrible happened. Trauma could be little. Trauma could be, you don't even know. I talk to people and my patients, and when I ask, have you ever been traumatized? And the first answer is no. Mm-mm. Like, people are so defensive, when I talk about trauma. But trauma could be a roach ran over my feet, and I'm traumatized. And then when people start talking, they're like, I guess, you know what? Yeah, this was trauma. So we need to identify these things, and we need to work on them. And therefore, you will balance your energy. That's how you manipulate energy. Do you see? This is the beginning. So reflection on Amara. Okay, time to go. You can journal or discuss what part of me needs softness. Where can I stop forcing healing? Are we forcing healing? Sometimes we are, because we want it to happen so much, right? We want it. Sometimes we are doing a pass on somebody. We want it so much. But we need to soften. We need to trust in our spiritual abilities, right? We need to trust in the spirituality. We need to trust. We need to feel safe. But if you cannot trust, if you have issues with trust in your life, then you will not feel safe. Then you cannot do any of this. Do you see? Last one, I promise I'm going to go real quick. Seraphel, the third eye, crown chakra, the insight without force, the silence representing the observer integration. Integration allows transformation to stabilize. Stillness lets insight become wisdom. Again, meditation. That's where you learn stillness. And that's where you get insights to, and all the insights that you get become wisdom. Where you're going to achieve that? Third eye, crown chakra. You do that same type of exercise. You imagine a healing light between your crown chakra, your third eye, and you are going to get clarity. You're going to get insights. That's how you do it. So without integration, healing repeats instead of settles. You guys understand? Okay. Seraphel, the witness. The role is integration and truth. See, people that struggle with being truthful, not to other people, to themselves, right? Represents awareness, silence, and wisdom. Daily integration is observe without fixing. Everything we observe, including in ourselves, we want to fix right away. And the secret is to observe without wanting to fix. You observe with no judgment, because with fixing, judgment, right? Judgment, fixing, hold hands. Trust, pauses, and stillness. Allow insight to settle naturally. Living Seraphel, ask yourself, what is already resolving? Can I allow this moment to be enough? The integration is presence itself can be healing. Do you guys get it? Any questions about this? Right? So you got to ask yourself, what is already resolving? Can I allow this moment to be enough? We are never satisfied. You know, I was home. I go, I got to go to the center. I take a shower, I get ready, and I come here. When I'm here, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to go home. Is this done already? Can we go? Like, she's taking too long to pray, and she's taking too, right? We are never satisfied. It's never enough. You know why? Because we don't know on how to stay in the present moment. We don't know on how to enjoy the only time that people know lately how to enjoy the present moment, if they're scrolling on their phone. I see people laughing by themselves all the time, getting killed because they're crossing the street on their phone, and you get killed. They're laughing, enjoying. They're not here. They're somewhere else. You're not in the present moment. And it's hijacking the truth of who we are. The phones are destroying us. Anyways. Reflection. What is already integrating? Where can I allow stillness? Together they create balance in life. Seraphel, start with Nefertari, I am protected. Amara, I am healing. Seraphel, I am aware. We need to practice this. Do you see? Where? Meditation. I'm protected, I am healing, I am aware. If you keep repeating this, if you do a meditation, there's so many different types of meditation, but you can meditate with these thoughts, right, Luigi? I am protected, I am healing, I am aware, right? Do you see? The spiritual cycle of wholeness. Am I safe to exist as myself? That's protection, the Nefertari. Am I allowed to soften and change? That's healing. Who is healing? Who remembers? Amara. Can I trust who I am becoming? Integration. Who is integration? Very good, guys. Pass the test. Why they must work together. Protection without healing leads to rigidity. Healing without protection leads to overwhelmness. Healing without integration leads to instability. Together they create coherence. You guys all know what coherence is, right? All right, the deeper truth, these archetypes are not external beings. They are inner functions of whole, regulated soul. The soul evolves through balance, not exhaustion.